For almost a decade, she was one of the most talked about women on reality television. Fans loved her. Fans hated her. Fans accused her of things she may or may not have done. Fans defended her against attacks she may or may not have deserved. She was the woman in the background of nearly every Roloff family event for years, and the woman blamed for nearly every Roloff family fight at the same time. Her name is Caryn Chandler, and tonight on LPBW Update, we are telling her full story. Not the Twitter version, not the Reddit conspiracy theories, not the screaming thumbnails on YouTube. The real story. Where she came from, how she ended up on Roloff Farms, what her life looked like before Matt Roloff, what her life looks like now that the 8-year relationship is over, and whether, as some fans believe, she was always misunderstood, or whether the criticism she received was, at least in some ways, fair. Because here's the thing, Caryn Chandler is a real person with a real history. She is not just a character on a TV show. She had a life before the cameras found her. She had a marriage. She has children. She has grandchildren. And to understand the role she played in the Roloff family for those 8 years, we have to start at the beginning, long before any of us knew who she was. Caryn Chandler was born on October 1st, 1967. That makes her around 58 years old as of this recording. She is American. She grew up in the Western United States. The exact details of her childhood are not public. She has never been a person who talks much about her early life in interviews, and she has consistently kept her family of origin out of the spotlight. What we do know is that as a young woman, she met and married a man named Joseph Chandler. The two of them were married for 20 years before they divorced in 2012. 20 years is not a short marriage. That is a real life. That is a real relationship. That is 2 decades of building something together before it ended. Caryn has not spoken publicly about the reasons for that divorce, and Joseph Chandler is not a public figure. What is known is that the marriage produced 2 children, a daughter named Brittany and a son named Connor. Both of them are now adults, and both of them, like their mother, have largely stayed out of the public eye, despite the fact that their mother became one of the most recognizable women on cable television. Caryn also has at least 1 grandchild, a boy named Liam Joseph Chandler. So when fans criticize Caryn for any number of things over the years, it is worth remembering that she walked into the Roloff world as a woman who already had her own family, her own history, her own children, and her own grandchild. She was not a young woman looking to attach herself to a famous family. She was an older woman with her own life. In the early 2000s, after her marriage to Joseph Chandler ended, and as she rebuilt her life, Caryn ended up working at a farm in Hillsboro, Oregon. That farm was Roloff Farms. She started as a worker. She moved up to assistant. Eventually, she became the manager of the pumpkin patch operations. According to multiple sources, she worked at the farm for approximately 10 years. During that time, she became, by all accounts, one of the most important people in the day-to-day operations of the property. She managed the pumpkin season, which is the financial engine of the farm. She worked with the farm staff, she coordinated logistics, she knew every corner of the property. Matt Roloff has said publicly that Caryn was instrumental in running pumpkin season during her years there. Fans saw her on Little People Big World as early as 2011, when she made her first appearance in the background of the show. She was not a main character, she was not a romantic interest, she was, at that point, an employee. And nobody, including the audience, thought much about her one way or the other. That changed slowly, then all at once. Amy Roloff has been the most candid person about what happened during this period, mostly through her memoir, A Little Me, which she published several years after her divorce from Matt. In the book, Amy described noticing that her then-husband was spending more and more time at a tavern he frequented in the evenings after working on the farm. She wrote that the farm manager, who had been working for them for a number of years by then, seemed to be around more and more often as well. Amy went on to write that, in her words, it eventually dawned on her that Matt and the farm manager seemed to have more than just a working relationship or friendship. She said she saw messages, pictures, and other things that should not have been shared between people who just worked together and were still married to other people. She said she was devastated. She also wrote, with painful honesty, that in hindsight she knew she should have said something right away, but she did not. She said she was scared and ashamed that anything remotely like that could be happening. Now, it is important to be careful here. Amy has shared her perspective. She has not provided receipts or evidence in any public form. Matt and Caryn have both denied that the romantic relationship started while Matt was still married. They have publicly maintained that they only began dating after Matt and Amy had separated and the divorce was finalized in 2016. The truth, as in many of these situations, is something only the people directly involved actually know. But what is undeniable is that Amy felt what she felt. She believed what she believed. And those feelings shaped her perception of Caryn Chandler for years afterward. After Matt and Amy officially divorced, Matt and Caryn went public with their relationship in early 2017. Matt sat down on camera for Little People, Big World and announced that they were dating. He described Caryn as a great companion, full of life, someone he found cute and enjoyable to be around. He said he had done a lot of soul-searching about what he really wanted in his life. He said maybe Amy and he had not had what he and Caryn had. The framing was clear. Matt was presenting Caryn as the woman who finally gave him the kind of connection he had been missing. From that moment, Caryn Chandler officially became a cast member, in a sense, on Little People, Big World. She started appearing more frequently. She started attending family events on camera. She started traveling with Matt. And in 2018, after a decade of working at Roloff Farms, she made the decision to leave her position. By that point, she was no longer an employee. She was, by every meaningful measure, part of the Roloff inner circle. She still helped during pumpkin season for years afterward because the family needed all hands during the busiest time of the year, but she was no longer drawing a paycheck. She was, instead, building a life with Matt. Over the next few years, that life developed steadily. Matt and Caryn split their time between Oregon and Arizona, buying a vacation home in Surprise, Arizona that became their warm weather retreat. They spent extended periods in the desert. They posted selfies. They went to concerts. They built a quiet domestic rhythm together. And Caryn, importantly, developed genuine relationships with Matt's children and grandchildren. The grandchildren in particular took to her quickly. They called her Cha-Cha. That nickname, which started as a simple way for very young children to pronounce her name, became one of the warmest details of her presence in the Roloff family. The grandkids ran to her. They played with her. They considered her a fixture of their family gatherings. Even some of Matt's children, who had complicated feelings about the relationship, acknowledged that Caryn was kind to the grandkids, that she showed up, that she made the effort. The Cha-Cha nickname in many ways was the thing that softened Caryn's image with the fan base. It was hard to hate someone the grandchildren clearly adored, but the broader image was always complicated. Fans, particularly on Reddit and in Facebook groups, had developed strong opinions about Caryn over the years. Some called her a gold digger, a label that surfaced in multiple articles and posts online. Some accused her of pushing Matt toward decisions that benefited her financially. Some pointed to the timing of the farm sale conversations, which began in earnest after Caryn had moved into Matt's life. Some pointed to the building of the dream home Matt and Caryn started planning on the farm property itself, which they would eventually use as a justification for the controversial structures and decisions made during that period. Whether any of these accusations were fair, only the people involved truly know. But the perception became real, and the perception, for many fans, hardened into something approaching certainty. In April of 2023, after 6 years of dating, Matt proposed to Caryn in the backyard of their Arizona home. According to Caryn's own retelling, Matt told her he had thought about it for a long time, that he wanted to grow old with her. She started to cry. She said yes. The engagement was announced to People magazine. Matt said their plan was to enjoy the engagement and to look forward to a simple but elegant wedding in 2024. The fans had mixed reactions. Some were happy for them. Some were skeptical. Some flatly did not believe a wedding would ever happen. And as we now know, that last group turned out to be right. 2024 came and went with no wedding. 2025 began with no announced plans. And then on July 22nd, 2025, Matt posted the announcement that ended it all. The engagement was over. The relationship was over. The 8 years were over. With one quiet Instagram post, the entire chapter closed. Since the breakup, Caryn Chandler has been largely silent. She has not done a tell-all interview. She has not given her side of the story to People or Entertainment Tonight or any of the other outlets that would happily pay for it. She has, by all appearances, retreated from public life. Her social media presence has gotten quieter. Her appearances at family events have stopped. The cha-cha that the grandchildren ran to is, for now at least, gone from their day-to-day world. She has not, as some had predicted, written a tell-all book about her time with the Roloffs. She has not given dirt-laden interviews. She has handled the breakup in public with what most observers would call dignity. And that in itself has caused some longtime critics to soften their views on her. If she were truly the gold digger that fans had accused her of being for years, she would presumably be cashing in right now. She would be selling stories. She would be doing podcast interviews. She would be milking the Roloff name for everything it was worth. Instead, she has gone quiet. She has, by every visible measure, walked away from the public side of the Roloff world without making it messy. And whatever else you believe about her, that says something. So where is she now? The truthful answer is that we do not fully know. She is presumably still in Arizona, where she had spent significant time during her years with Matt. She has her own home, her own life, her own family. She has her 2 adult children. She has her grandson. She has her own friends. She has, by every reasonable estimate, enough financial stability to weather this transition without difficulty. And she has, importantly, her own decades of life experience to draw on as she moves into the next chapter. She is not a young woman who got dumped by her famous boyfriend and is now starting over with nothing. She is a 58-year-old woman who had her own marriage, her own children, her own career, and her own identity long before Matt Roloff was ever a part of her life. She will be fine. She will move on. And whether she ever returns to public attention is entirely her choice. The question that is harder to answer is what the legacy of Caryn Chandler will be in the Roloff family story. For some fans, she will always be the woman who broke up the original Roloff family. For others, she will be the woman who gave Matt happiness in a difficult chapter of his life. For some, she will be the villain who caused the farm rift. For others, she will be the convenient scapegoat that the family used to avoid blaming Matt himself. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, as the truth usually is. Caryn was likely not the villain her harshest critics made her out to be. She was likely not the saint her defenders sometimes painted. She was a real woman, with real flaws and real virtues, who entered an already complicated family at an already complicated moment, and who tried, in her own way, to build a life with the man she chose. That she did not succeed is not necessarily a moral failure. Relationships end. Engagements collapse. Sometimes the people involved did everything they could and it still did not work. And sometimes the cleanest exit is the quietest one. What does this mean for the Roloff family going forward? With Caryn out of the picture, Matt is reconnecting with his sons and grandchildren. The family photos look different now. The Instagram posts have changed in tone. The energy, by every visible measure, is different. Whether that is because Caryn was a divisive presence and her absence has allowed the family to heal, or because she was simply caught in the middle of a family conflict that had nothing fundamentally to do with her, depends on whom you ask. But the family is moving forward, and so, in her own way, is she. I want to hear from you on this one because I know it is a divisive topic. Do you think Caryn Chandler was treated fairly by the fan base over the years? Or do you think the criticism she received was earned? Do you think she handled the breakup with dignity? Or do you think she is just waiting for the right moment to tell her side? Do you think we have heard the last of her in the Roloff story? Or do you think she will resurface somewhere down the line? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know where you stand. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to LPBW Update, and ring the bell so you do not miss our weekly Roloff updates. We are committed to telling these stories with research, with care, and with honesty. No clickbait, no invented drama, just the truth, the timeline, and the questions that matter. I will see you on the next one.